morning, my friends, and welcome to this special installment of Weekend Update. From very high above, all the vacuous and vapid forms of Wyoming mainstream media, this is Cowboy State Politics. I, of course, am your illustrious host, David Iverson, on my birthday, broadcasting to you from the base of the Bighorns, firmly ensconced behind this beautiful silver Cowboy State Politics microphone. Good morning, my friends, and welcome to the program. Happy Saturday, September 13th. And before we get started, let me just clear up a rumor that circulates on the Wyoming left. I was not born on Friday the 13th, although if you're on the left, I'm sure at many times it probably feels that way. But before we go any further, it's my birthday and it's my program, so I'll do whatever the heck I want. Happy birthday to me.
Hey kid, I hear it's your birthday. Happy birthday to you.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday to you.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday. Happy birthday. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday!
Thank you, gentlemen, for that auspicious rendition of Happy Birthday. In any case, thank you very much for those of you who, up until this point, have wished me happy birthday. I really appreciate it. Okay, on with the program. I haven't had the chance to address the assassination of a man that I greatly respected and admired yet on the podcast. I have to tell you, my friends, that I've had to talk to you about some things that were pretty difficult for me in the past, but I don't think that any of them have hit me quite as hard as the assassination, and that's what it was, of Charlie Kirk. The man never hurt anybody. Oh, he may have hurt their feelings now and again, but as far as actually hurting them, no, Charlie Kirk never did that. He loved people. If you ever had the opportunity to attend one of his Turning Point USA events, it is not possible to leave that event, no matter which side of the political aisle you happen to be sitting on. You couldn't leave that event without feeling the immense love that Charlie Kirk had for Americans and for this country. A lot of that, and this is going to sound completely contradictory to those people on the left, but what shows his love for people is his willingness to engage with anybody, with people who fundamentally disagreed with him, and to speak the truth to them, whether it's the truth of facts and figures or it's the truth of the love of Jesus Christ, which he wove into every single one of his events. If you went to one of his events, there isn't any way that you could come away with any other opinion. Sure, you may disagree with him, but that doesn't erase the fact that he loved this country and he loved people. If he didn't, he wouldn't have done what he was doing. The last couple of days, I've seen a countless number of pictures of a lot of people that I know with Charlie Kirk. I'm not one of those. I don't have a picture of myself with Charlie Kirk. Now, I did get to see him 3 times. The first one was at the 2018 convention in Gillette, and then at an event in Jackson. And the last one was the Turning Point USA event in Laramie. I did get 5 minutes with him at one of those events, but I chose to tell him about the Turning Point USA chapter at Buffalo High School. Of course, I introduced myself and told him a little bit about my program, but the majority of the time, I talked about what those young kids were doing in Buffalo. I never really worried about getting a picture or getting an interview with him because I always thought that given the amount of people that I know that were very, very close to Charlie Kirk, that eventually I'd have a chance to sit down with him personally and do an interview. But that was not to happen. I tried before his event in Laramie. Of course, I had a press pass, but I was questioning whether or not to go because I thought, well, get the chance of getting an interview is probably pretty low. But I decided to go anyway. So I drove the 6 hours to Laramie, and I got there about 30 minutes before the event. And after it, I knew that there was no way I was going to be able to get anywhere close to Charlie. There was just too many people. But the one thing that I got from it was a Turning Point USA poster that says, "Christ has set us free." On the way home, I kind of had the feeling of, all my friends went on vacation and all I got was this T-shirt. Looking back on that, it was kind of foolish because for the last couple of days, I've been staring at that poster that now hangs in my studio and just smiling. It is an undeniable fact, if you are at all intellectually honest with yourself, that Charlie Kirk loved the Lord, and he loved people, and he loved this country profoundly. On my live program on Thursday, which, by the way, was one of the hardest ones that I've ever had to do, I played a couple of sound bites from Charlie Kirk. Here's the first one, and I'm sure you've heard this, but it's how he wants to be remembered.
I want to be remembered for courage for my faith. That would be the most important thing. The most important thing is my faith in my life.
I decided on Thursday that is how I'm going to remember Charlie Kirk. Now, I also found this soundbite, and I think that of all of the video we have of Charlie Kirk at all of his events, that this one defines him more than all of the rest. You may have already heard this one. It's been pretty widely publicized, but this one hit me pretty hard. Here it is.
Are you a Christian by any chance?
Very, very much so.
Like, why is that exactly?
Jesus saved my life. I'm a sinner, gave my life to Christ, most important decision I ever made.
So you believe the Bible is real?
Yes, I believe the Bible is true and real. Yeah.
Why is that?
Well, I could give you the technical answer. There's never been an archaeological discovery that has contradicted the truth of the Bible. And then, of course, the wisdom. There is not a truth of the Bible that if you apply to your life does not improve dramatically. And then finally, we have the most accurate and transparent, historically robust account that one can have of the most important figure ever to live in the history of the world, Jesus of Nazareth. And the resurrection is the pinpoint of my belief that Jesus did rise from the grave so that we may live.
What makes Christian mythology real?
So that's not mythology, but that is theology. If Genesis 1:1 and the resurrection is true, anything in the Bible is possible. You're looking at the greatest miracle. The greatest miracle is creation. And then the fact that Jesus rose from the dead. And I say, how do you know that Jesus rose from the dead? Well, show me another historical piece of a story where so many people willingly died a brutal death for a lie. Every single person around him had everything to lose, and yet they went to the absolute death, from Paul to Peter to the half-brother of James, saying that Jesus is Lord, Jesus rose from the dead. Not to mention, if you were going to fake a story, you would not use female witnesses in the ancient world. In the scriptures, it said that the women were the first one to see Jesus Christ. If you're trying to fake a story, you would never do that.
Maybe the reason that one hits me so hard is Jesus literally did save my life, both physically and spiritually. I don't know that I've ever told you that story before. I promise I will, and soon. Now, I know that a lot of you are angry. I'm angry. In fact, I'm furious. Righteous anger is okay, my friends, but it's got to be directed. And it's got to be directed in the right way. Just being mad about what happened, and make no mistake, I am. But just being mad without any direction doesn't do you or anybody else around you any good at all. Obviously, you have to let it out, which is kind of what I've been doing the last couple of days, but I've tried to do so with intention. You see, in my family and the way I was brought up, we kind of look at things a little bit differently than others, I think. Okay, bad stuff happens, and you're entitled to feel bad about it for a while, but after a little bit, after we've done some grieving, then it's time to continue on, to do the things that our loved one would have wanted us to do. Certainly, our loved ones, and I'm positive about this, wouldn't want us sitting around dwelling about what happened. As a Christian, I know that Charlie Kirk is in paradise. I'm sure when he got there, Jesus looked at him and said, "Well done." So what I'm saying, my friends, is we should remember Charlie Kirk for who he was and what he did. And what he did, my friends, was absolutely tremendous. And so the question left to us is, what do we do next? Well, the very first thing we do on Cowboy State Politics is to knock down some of the bullcrap that showed up in the cow pie about Charlie Kirk. Now, normally I would be talking about redcoats, but at least they were smart enough not to say anything to the media where it would be within eyeshot, normally it would be earshot, but eyeshot of yours truly on my birthday. To the cow pie in an article entitled, "Wyoming Democrats Repulsed by Trump Reaction to Charlie Kirk Shooting." That's completely okay with me, endangered species Wyoming Democrats, because most of what you do repulses me anyway. Before I get into the meat of what these clearly uneducated and ignorant people said, let's take a quick profit timeout. Today's birthday edition of Weekend Update is brought to you by Morton Buildings. Have you ever wondered what the inside of a Morton Buildings shop looks like? Well, now's your chance. They've been holding a series of open houses across the state, and the next one is in Lander on September 17th. It's going to be held at 5317 Highway 28 in Lander, and they're going to start about 4 o'clock. I attended the open house here in Sheridan, and I'm telling you, my friends, there is nothing quite like a Morton building. So, if you want to see what the inside and the outside of one of them looks like, it's on September 17th in Lander, 5317 Highway 28. And if you go find Jesse and tell him that David sent you. Today's program is also brought to you by Rebecca Bextel at eXp Realty. Did you move to the far northwest corner of the state thinking that you were moving to Wyoming, only to find out that you've set up residence in Wyoming's only Democrat county? And now you're re-examining your life's decisions? Well, call Rebecca Bextel at eXp Realty. Her phone number is 307-699-3519. She'll get you out of the People's Republic of Jackson and into what is actually Wyoming. Again, her phone number is 307-699-3519. Make sure that you subscribe and follow the program. That way you can be notified every single time there's a brand new episode of Cowboy State Politics. You can do that from the website, cowboystatepolitics.com, or anywhere that you get your podcasts. And now, back to all the reasons why the cow pie should really not take things out of context. And I quote, Provenza wrote in a text message to the cow pie, quote, "Now more than ever, we need to love our neighbors, learn to sit in disagreement and work through that disagreement with them. The reality is that most of us want the same thing. We want our communities to have freedom, freedom to think what they want, freedom to say what they want." End quote. Carly Provenza is one of the last people that should be commenting on anything to do with this situation. It was not that long ago that she herself posted a meme of a so-called trans person holding a rifle, insinuating that if the outcome of a certain piece of legislation didn't happen the way that she wanted, there should be violence. Now, of course, it didn't say that, but that was the implication. You couldn't ask for a better opportunity for Representative Provenza to call out this type of rhetoric, to apologize for it, to say that this is not the sort of thing that we need to further productive discourse between two groups of people that fundamentally disagree on a whole bunch of things. But instead, she didn't take that opportunity. Now, Carly, if you'd like to come on the program and take that opportunity by the horns, you are more than welcome to come in and sit down with me and talk about it. Or we could do it over Zoom, or we could do it over the phone. But the invitation's open. You didn't take it with the cow pie, but I am absolutely willing to give you another crack at it. And I think if you really meant what you said to the cow pie, that you probably should. And then we have Senator Chris Rothfuss. I am absolutely shocked at the utter lack of intellectual honesty in his comments. Now, I've met Chris Rothfuss. I think that he's generally speaking a pretty intelligent guy, and from what I can see, at least I used to think that he was pretty level-headed. I've talked to him on several occasions, and most of the time they were pretty pleasant conversations. But that doesn't mean that he gets a pass on what he said in the cow pie. Let me give you an example. And I quote, "The MAGA movement is racist and divisive to its core. And when people on the left have resorted to violence in recent years, it has been a reaction to oppressive and heightening authoritarianism." End quote. First, it doesn't really matter if you think the president is an authoritarian or not. That doesn't justify killing people. Second, it is absolutely deplorable, reference intended, that Chris Rothfuss would justify the killing of innocent people based on a political ideology. Because that, my friends, is exactly what he's doing in the cow pie. Just listen to what he said. It was a response to authoritarianism. Even if that were true, it doesn't make it right, and it's not true anyway. Here's another one. Quote, "The hatred is a traditional populist vehicle for gaining favor and power. You find someone to hate, you talk about how much you hate them, and then you rally around that to build support through emotion and anger." End quote. Let's call the senator from the Ivory Tower's comments exactly what they are. Sophomoric at best, and probably just plain idiotic. You would think that given the opportunity, the venerable senator from Laramie would take the opportunity to try to turn the volume knob down a little bit. But does he do that? Nope. If you're on the right, if you're a MAGA person, you just hate everybody. Wow. Chris, speaking the truth to people is not hate. It is a biologic fact. And Chris, you are a pretty educated guy, that a man cannot become a woman any more than a woman can become a trout. That's not hate. That, my friend, is a fact. Now, Chris, because it's my birthday, and because I'm feeling very generous, you too are welcome on this program anytime you like. I would absolutely love to sit down with you and debate whether or not conservatives just generally hate people. But Senator Rothfuss didn't stop there. From the cow pie, quote, in Rothfuss's view, Kirk also used hateful strategies, racism in particular. One of those, a 2024 critique of race-based hiring reads, quote, if I see a black pilot, I'm going to be like, boy, I hope he's qualified, end quote. First, that quotation has been taken out of context more times than anybody can count. In doing prep for this show, I went and looked for that soundbite. A lot. The only ones I found had been clearly edited to omit any preface that Charlie Kirk may have said before that comment. I'm pretty sure that Chris Rothfuss knows this. But anyway, what I did find is a piece of video where he was asked about that comment and repeated what he said. Charlie Kirk, being who he is, you can be 100% sure that everything that comes out of his mouth is fact-checked, almost immediately. Here's that soundbite. It's a little bit long, but there again, it's my birthday, and I can do whatever I want. Here you go.
Yeah, so last year you said something about DEI, unqualified black pilots. You see a pilot on a black pilot. Don't you think it was an irresponsible statement suggesting that maybe these pilots aren't qualified or unqualified?
No. But I'll tell you exactly what I said and why I said it.
Okay, go ahead.
I said, the pretext, I went through a whole windup. I said, United Airlines is saying that they want 40% of all their pilots to be people of color or women. We have learned that we have relaxed standards anytime that we try to reach racial quotas. Anytime we reach racial quotas, we relax the standards. Standards for air traffic control, professors, or college admissions. Therefore, when it comes to pilots or surgeons, if I see somebody who is black, as I said on the show, I'm going to hope that person is qualified. That's what I said, which of course is legitimate, because they're begging the question, we're not hiring based on merit anymore. We're hiring based on race.
Now,
So when you see a black pilot, you wonder, boy, is that person there because they earned it or because they were placed there? That's what DEI does. It makes you ask questions you otherwise would not ask.
That is entirely logical. Second, Chris Rothfuss knows this. And third, how incredibly irresponsible for the cow pie to print something that is taken so far out of context that it doesn't even mean the same thing. Whomever wrote this article in the cow pie should be deeply ashamed. Context matters, my friends. The truth is that the left disagreed with Charlie Kirk because he brought facts and logic to the debate. Two things that, if you're a Democrat, your arguments don't really line up with. It's pretty clear, as it relates to Charlie Kirk in the cow pie article, that the Democrats questioning his stances or his beliefs or even his logic have no idea what Charlie Kirk actually ever said. If they did, they wouldn't have used the quotations taken out of context that they did. Let me just give you one more example. Chris Rothfuss maintains that Charlie Kirk was a racist. Here's a soundbite proving that just because you're in possession of the facts, that doesn't make you a racist. Nor does your ability to use logic against people who are unfamiliar with those two things. This one is long, but it's pretty entertaining.
Yes, if you think that, okay, let me just be very clear.
I know.
America has come really far if your best example of racism is getting bad looks in a grocery store. We have made incredible racial moral progress.
That's only my experience. There are so many other people
But I'm
out there.
happy to hear every example that they have. It boils down to this. We are not just a racist country. We are the least racist country ever to exist. We go out of our way not to be called the R word, to demonstrate that we aren't racist, to show to people that I have compassion for others and that I want to try to help people of different skin color. But at its fundamental core, I have to go back to this. I don't actually think skin color matters that much. I don't. I want a country that aims towards MLK's dream of one based on content of character and one on competency. I think the hyper-racial obsession of this country is really bad. It's really bad for everybody involved, including Black America. And I would just ask you, what would you do to improve the material well-being of Black America? What is your solution?
Education.
Okay, we've spent trillions of dollars on education.
It's not
trillions.
You need to fundamentally change the system of education because there's not enough funding. Teachers are not paid enough anywhere. Let's be honest. We need to seriously fix our education, especially when public school education comes from property taxes. When you're in a low-income neighborhood, you're not going to get high-income teachers.
If you had to choose more money for education or more dads for Black kids, what would you say?
That goes hand in hand. Education goes into
I agree.
family
That's
planning.
why if we get more dads into homes, it starts solving the problem.
No, education is what solves the problem.
Well, hold on, but again, if you're just educating and there's not a dad at home reinforcing it, we've seen this play out. We see this in Chicago. In Baltimore, we've spent hundreds of billions of dollars in Baltimore, Chicago, Detroit. We have entire classes of kids that can't read at grade level. We have incredible examples of this, and it goes back to this. If you want to have a privileged life in America, very simple. Start acting a certain way.
What do you mean act a certain way?
Get married to one person and stay married to that person, and don't abandon them, of which 75% of Black men do.
So, okay, we have 2 Black men right here. By that statistics, one of us is not going to get married to one woman. So,
okay, I hope you guys defy the odds.
Okay, so
were you raised by a two-parent
yes,
household?
I was.
Okay, good. And that's why you are probably here, because that elevates my argument.
But the reason why they are here is because of the education they received. Both my parents got their bachelor's at colleges.
I'm not discounting education, but I'm saying the parental family nuclear unit is fundamental. It solves everything, and it's not just the hypothesis.
Education is what builds that fundamental family structure.
That's where we disagree. More government education is not going to put dads back in the home.
I'm saying just education in general.
Again, New York spends 4 times as much on education than Idaho. It's not a spending thing, and we'll just end with this. Our belief system is that you come down to the most foundational family unit, and when that breaks down so severely, don't be shocked if that group, when it acts that way, stays in poverty over a longer period of time. Asians are incredibly loyally married. It's one of the reasons why Asian Americans do so well in this country. Hispanics do very well. White Americans increasingly are not doing as well.
They also came here by choice too. My ancestors did not come here by choice, but
so
we don't have to go too far into that.
We don't have to go into that. I want to get to the next question. Again, you should be kissing the ground because you're right. You didn't come here by choice. But
why are you telling me to?
Hold on, I'm telling you right now. You should be kissing the ground with gratitude because you're right. You are not in Africa, and you should be thankful you're not in Africa, that you're in the United States of America. That's my end of contention. Thank you very much.
My friends, I'm going to miss Charlie Kirk. I'm sure you are too. But the question now is, what are you going to do? I've seen a lot of pictures on Facebook or posts that say, I am Charlie Kirk, and I think that those are incredible. But the next question is, okay, great, but what are you going to do now? My suggestion is to speak boldly, to speak the truth, and to do it without fear. Challenge the narratives that are being thrown at us every single day from liberal people in the media who most likely have no idea what they're talking about. And educate yourself so that you know what you're talking about. And don't be afraid to challenge authority. Just because somebody is richer than you or has a position or is an elected official doesn't mean that they know more than you do. It doesn't mean that they have any more right to speak than you do. The best way to win a debate is to be better prepared than the person you're debating. I'm convinced that these are the things that Charlie would want us to do. Honor his legacy, my friends. Honor the things that Charlie Kirk stood for. And, as a friend of mine is fond of saying, be brave. Do something. Just use the gifts that God gave you while you're doing it. Well, that'll do it for today's installment of Weekend Update. Have a good rest of your weekend, and we'll talk again on Monday. But for now, from the base of the Bighorns at the Cowboy State Politics Studio, I'm David Iverson, and this is the one and only Cowboy State Politics.